early on starting the restaurant, was there a time where you're like, crap, we're not going to make this?
It was like, how are we need to make sales or else this isn't going to work. I went back to California right after we were talking about opening to pack up my stuff. And he's like, we got to come up with an A name because the phone book mattered.
You were going for the largest pizza party ever.
So they went right before us, which ours was for charity. This annoyed the hell out of me. So if they get to 2,000, we got to get to 3,000. The Guinness judge walked in and said to me, thanks for having me here. You've been great to work with up to this point. Just so you know, when this fails, and these typically fail, you will not see me. I will walk away. That will be the event.
Whoa, 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 clear out the room, I'm coming through, they wanna see what I'm about.
And that's the name, you know?
I'm on a paper route. Extra,
You gonna hook me up? Okay.
Today's trying to tap it. I put commas over bullshit. Yeah, I put that on mamas. They trying to block all my blessings.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the People of Oklahoma podcast. And the guest that I have on today is the best pizza place in Tulsa area. It's a pleasure having you on. So I'm going to introduce to you Mike Bausch, the owner of Andolini's Pizzeria. There we go.
Thank you.
There we go. So, man, I'm glad to have you on. And actually, I want to start this podcast off saying that me and Mike used to work out together way back in the day. Back in 2012, me and him did CrossFit together. We both woke up. I think we went to the 5:30 a.m. class every single morning. And then we kind of got reconnected several years later. And Mike never remembered who I was. So
You
it
got
kind of
taller. I don't know.
It
Something
got taller.
happened.
Yeah, I got tall. Yeah, so I went in. Me and Mike did some content creation together, and I walked in. I gave him a hug. He was like, "Oh, so you're a hug guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah. How you been?" He's like, "I've been good." And then I was like, "You don't remember who I am?" And you're like, "No." And I was like, "Well, that's awkward."
You know, workout attire, it's a different vibe.
That is true.
I will say, especially like not as much with guys. So that's on me. That's on me.
I know, because I was talking to you beforehand, because I've gone to Andolini several times before for my Instagram and stuff and reviewed it. And, I wanted to support you. And plus you make great pizza. And then, also something else I was
also like, I was a fan. I independently of knowing you from CrossFit, which I didn't remember, was a fan of what you were putting out, not just of my stuff, but of Tulsa in general. And it's really cool how that will hit your feed, especially on TikTok. It doesn't feel like it's another local thing. It almost feels like it's watching national TV. So you're like, we're on national TV. Like, look at us. Because when it's Instagram or Facebook, it's just okay,
right? Yeah,
because that's friends of friends. But on TikTok, when I saw it there, I was like, oh wow, this is wow.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You actually, and I got one more bone to pick with you and make fun of you. One more thing, and then we'll get into it. But you had a competition for the video of Andolini's. Come and make a video, and you get free pizza for a year. You remember when you did that about a year ago? Well, I made a video, and a lot of people probably don't know this, but you guys actually have a make your own pizza at home kit, which I think is genius. And me and my family had a blast doing it. So I made a video around that. Got tons of views, tons of traction. And you didn't pick me to win.
No, we didn't. The other person had like a drone camera, and they were out in the woods, and it was like a full short film. And I was like, geez, yours was probably the smarter choice because it was doing on social. But when we looked at them all blind, or like just like look at this, and then put it to the staff and like, which is the best video? Or like, holy, this guy.
Oh, so is that how you guys did it? You guys put it all in front of the staff and said, "Hey, everyone, vote for one."
What do you guys like? And it was just so obvious.
That one was
much effort. The person had like scripted it. They had done.
Oh, it was
lighting.
Incredible. It was incredible. But I was thinking it was going to be more of a view count thing because I killed them on the view count. You would win
on that.
I killed them, but also it's not really fair because it's like.
We should care more about view count because that leads to purchasing. We should not have such an artistic approach to content.
It was so funny because I was looking forward to winning that pizza for the year. That after you guys announced I didn't win, I was talking to my wife Taylor, and I was like, I'm never eating at Andolini's again. Like, they didn't pick me. I was I was so mad for about an hour, and
If
then
you want pizza, Steve,
I know
I can make that happen.
I know,
I know a
but
guy that can pull that off.
But the other thing is like you guys have this lunch special.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So when I have clients come from out of town, because I'm a realtor full time, and so anytime I have clients that come into town, I always take them to Andolini's for your guys' lunch special because it's incredible. It's like unlimited pizza, pasta, and salad for what is it now? $13 or is
13,
it,
yeah.
This is 13?
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, just in case I have a client that's an eater and I don't want to spend a whole lot of money taking them out to lunch, I just take them to you guys. So
We started that when I opened with my brother in 2005. It was like, it was easy enough on the weekends because we were the high end pizza choice of Owasso, which is not a high bar, especially in 2005. And then it was, hey, how are we going to get lunch business? Because Owasso is this really interesting beast of a town in that you have to be all things white collar and all things blue collar. Because also you really have to feed like Sperry and Catoosa Monday through Thursday. So people would come in every day saying, hey, do you have a buffet? I don't have a buffet, nor do I have the inclination to make one, nor do I have the space to buy a buffet and I'll do all that. But we were losing out. So I had to create this, like, we have to have some all you can eat option or else we are not going to survive. So that was a lot of early Andolini's was learning how to pivot and adjust or else we wouldn't have survived. Like in 2005 to 2009, like about 40 restaurants, I think it's exactly 39 restaurants opened, of which around 36 closed. It's just a litany. And they were like corporate ones too. You had Fuddruckers and then
Owasso had a Fuddruckers?
Oh yeah, it had a Fuddruckers that turned into the Ruby Tuesdays that now is Bricktown Brewery. It was just like open, close, nonstop stuff, opening and closing. And it was because everyone said, oh wow, there's so many new people that have moved into Owasso, which is how we ended up there. My brother was vice president of Alamo Rent-A-Car, and they moved their base of operations with former mayor Kathy Taylor's husband. Bill Lobeck was the president of Alamo, moved Fort Lauderdale ops to Tulsa in 2004, along with Verizon, Honeywell, Capital One, all descending into that corporate area of Lakewood Drive in like Owasso West.
Right.
And my brother was like, hey, you should come to Owasso. This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm like, what? Tucson, Tacoma? What's Tulsa? I've only lived in the East Coast. I've only lived in the East Coast and the West Coast at that point. I came out and I was like, this town's all right. What's going on? Let's see what's going on. Interestingly enough, like McNelly's was just 6 months open at that point.
Oh, so McNelly's was only so this was back in 2004.
I don't think they were. Actually more like 3 months open. And I was like, oh, there's a cool downtown bar here, and there's nothing else at the time.
Yeah.
So we opened, I think 6 months after McNelly's had opened, and it was just this really weird time. Owasso had no restaurants, and we just did it and opened up. Said, what's easy enough to open? Okay, a pizza place, we could do that. I had worked pizza. My brother, I'd worked fine dining. We thought about, we're gonna have an Italian market or a German beer food hall. None of those were viable. None of those we thought would be like obvious. And then we just looked for a spot and took over an ice cream shop called Scoops and just walked in and said, hey, do you want to stop doing this? Like, yeah. How much to leave? Like, they gave us a number. It wasn't that much. We paid it. And then we started building a pizza place right there.
So you're not from Oklahoma. So where did you grow up at?
I was born on a Marine Corps base called Camp Lejeune. And then, so you hear from like the water stuff, like I was there for the water stuff. I don't have any diseases. And then I lived in the Bay Area of San Francisco at 1 year old to like 8 years old, then moved to New York and the whole tri-state area until like right at high school, and went back to California and did high school and college in the Bay Area again.
Okay.
So my parents were born and raised in Manhattan, never had left the island really till they were adults. I mean, my dad would go to school and stuff, but they were straight up from Chelsea, Manhattan, the Lower West Side. And that is my lineage, is Marine Corps family. That's why my dad left, a lieutenant colonel, my brother in the Marines. I went into officer candidate school while in college, which is what people don't understand the difference between enlisted and officer. You do it officer in the summers to become an officer with that rank that would be in charge of Marines. And I did the training, but found out I was a type 1 juvenile diabetic and had done all of Marine Corps training as a type 1 juvenile diabetic. went down to like 130 pounds, didn't know what was going on with my body, and then found out, and then basically medically not allowed to continue, but had all the training and all the awareness of how far I could push my body, especially in that scenario.
Right.
So when it was like, hey, could you open a restaurant and be able to wake up early each day? I was like,
yeah. I could do that.
That's how it came to be. We moved to Tulsa, hit the ground running. I would not suggest a 22-year-old with limited restaurant knowledge open a restaurant. It's not a good
So
idea.
you're 22, and so you had no what were you doing? What were you doing right before you came to Tulsa?
I graduated college.
Okay, so you graduated
2 months.
college, and then your brother was like, "Hey, come."
I went to law school. I had been accepted to law school. I was going to law school. I went to law school for 90 minutes. That is a fact. I went to law school for 90 minutes for orientation. The day my brother was like, hey, I'm getting transferred to Tulsa. Do you want to like pause on law school or check this out? And I said, yeah, I'm out. I want to get out of here. I had done all of the LSATs, got accepted to a law school, went to the day of it, and I just saw the next 20 years of my life flash before my eyes. And I just was like, this isn't what it's supposed to be. Now, I was going to law school also because I was intending on being a JAG lawyer in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And so the Marine Corps was going to pay for law school, and I was going to have a mission in life helping, America and the Marine Corps. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. Do I really want to be a lawyer going to this? It didn't feel right.
Right.
And then doing something on my own terms did. And so all my friends are like, hold on, are you in law school? I saw like someone said that you work at a pizza place in the middle of America now? What happened here? I'm like, I don't work at it.
I own it. I own it. What so you moved to Owasso, you find Scoop's old ice cream shop. So why I know you kind of touched on it, but why pizza?
Well, when people are like, did you always love pizza? I'm like, yeah, so do you. So does anyone with a soul. It's not a high bar. I loved pizza and grew up around pizzerias, but I genuinely knew enough about it to make pizza for a pizzeria. Keep in mind, the time from 2004 to 2008 is such an incredible shift in the world that people are like, no Facebook, no YouTube, no teaching of any of this. Like you could find a few books deep, like barely there, like, hey, here's a kind of pizza recipe, barely anything. So I was going off calling people, and I said pizza will work in this town because at the time it was just Mazzio's in Owasso and Domino's and Pizza Hut. Like, there's nothing else. All these Floridians and New Yorkers are 10,000 people. Someone's got to want some type of a, East Coast proper pizza. So that was the only bar. It was just create that. And it was good. It would be embarrassing today what we've started out with. And I wanted to make it better. So it was like calling the pizzerias I grew up on, which again, my dad and I would go out to pizzerias every weekend when I was a kid. So I knew pizza. I was like, this ain't it, what I was seeing. So let me try and create it. But when I'm calling up people, they're like, yeah, you shake the dough and add milk. And I'm like, okay. It wouldn't work. And because there's no one helping me. Then I called a guy who did tell me a lot. And that guy, I called the right people. Put it this way. I'm very lucky in my life that I've always found the right mentor. And the person I called, who I saw on Food Network, is without a doubt the greatest pizza maker in the world by far. And he's known as that now. Back then he was like, oh, this really good guy who has one pizza place in a suburb of San Francisco. He wrote the Pizza Bible. He's been on the Tonight Show. He masterclass with the video series. He's the one who teaches pizza. His name's Tony Gimignani. And
so you knew him before he became that guy?
Yeah. Well, I called him and said, hey, what should I do on this and this and this? And he told me. And then he went and took a collegiate level course on pizza making in Italy, like a week nonstop, like having one class. Came back to America, brought the Italians that taught him to be translators to teach a select few of his friends, which were mostly like guys in their 30s and 40s. And I heard about it through like the grapevine, called and said, hey, can I come today? It's like, it's in 3 weeks in Manteca, California. He knew me from 2 phone calls and said, you seem into it. If you can get out here, great. And then we spent that week together. And then he invited me on his competition team just based off what we were already doing. We were making fresh mozzarella from scratch, which was like something fine dining places don't do. They would buy their mozzarella balls already made. And we were doing that at this suburb of Tulsa at one unit. So he thought I had chops, and I went to Italy and competed with him. That next year was brought on the World Pizza Champions team, which me and Tony have just grown our friendship. We put out a book 2 months ago called The Pursuit of Pizza. It's a cookbook where all these pizza makers came to Tulsa at my pizza place downtown. It's a legit book. It's sold out on Amazon a lot. It's called The Pursuit of Pizza. It's a cookbook, and all the proceeds go to benefit Make-A-Wish. And when all my pizza friends were in town, that's when we did the Guinness event also for the world's largest.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
This whirlwind starts at Owasso, and like 6 years of just learning how to not suck, to get good mentorship from guys like Tony, to then hit the ground running so hard with Cherry Street, and then to grow more stores, and at the same time developing systems and ops. And then I just documented my systems and operations that I would like create, or I would learn something. I'm like, that's cool. Maybe I could use that in the pizza world, something from business, because I'm a very, white collar mindset with a blue collar work ethic. That's how my life has been, like college, but Marines, New York, but prestigious grades. Like, so I took that and have done this other thing where I teach pizza makers and restaurant owners how to get their lives back. And that's what I've been doing with this knowledge for the last few years too.
Yeah, because you've been doing this for so long. So what were some of what were some of the big things like when you first started? What were some of the do you have any funny stories of so like when you first started and you're like made a big out of Owasso, and I know I kind of put you on the spot.
Man, there's like so many times where the whole thing went to total crap, and you're like, we had a day where the water popped on the sprinkler, and it just, how do you handle telling people, hey, water line? It was just one. It doesn't go for all of them like in the movies.
Yeah,
it's black water, and you're like, it was right after like this massive rush, and there was a ton of tickets. I've had a lot of epiphanies. Here's a massive epiphany I had was, we were selling frozen ravioli of spinach artichoke, little green medallion spinach artichoke ravioli, and it was from this one pasta maker guy out of this one company, and I thought, we're amazing, and we're selling it. People are loving it. We're selling the hell out of it. We have a freezer filled with it, and it's a mainstay. It becomes like a signature item. And so it's like never even been in Oklahoma, and we're selling it. And then I forget the other Italian restaurant that opened like off 76th Street, the really crappy one. I had like 6 restaurants. I don't want to be crappy.
Yeah.
Closed all of them.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It opens, and they immediately buy this ravioli, and they start selling it too, just with their sauce on it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm buying a McNugget. They're buying a McNugget. And we're both saying we're not McDonald's, And I was like, take the freezer, donate the freezer, donate all the food. We're done. We're done with anything like that. We're never going to grow if we could do something that someone else could just do.
Right.
If they want to play the song, if it's our song and they look like they're playing a cover, so be it. But if we're both buying the same CD and playing it, we're basic. So, and then I had this, someone came in and said, it's just always so impressive what's here. It's like, you take so much detail, and it hit me over the head that if it's not impressive, by default, it's unimpressive. And you'll think, well, okay, fine. Like, what does that mean? The restaurant's fine. Nothing went wrong, but fine is not enough for you to, as you said earlier, I bring people when they come out of town.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have that connection, if people aren't like, this is great, you have to try this, I will lose in a sea of competition, because I am not the most convenient choice. The most convenient pizza, people if thinking right now for pizza, most convenient, they're going to go Papa John's, Little Caesars.
Little Caesars, yeah.
It's Quick Trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're all getting their ass kicked too right now. You have to be experienced, and that's what I have to push it out across all the stores, not just Andolini's, but Proximo, our food hall locations, even the airport. If it's not impressive, by default, we suck.
Right.
And the word fine is our F word at this point. So that was the epiphany. Like, if someone says, what's going on with that table? They're fine. It's fine. It's essentially the same as like a married couple. Like, what's going on? We're fine. It's fine. Nothing's wrong. Like,
I never even thought about that, using the word fine. Like, fine is not fine. Not fine. So like, so being like when you were early on starting the restaurant, was there a time where you're like, crap, we're not going to make this? Or was there, or when you opened, where you just hit the ground running and everything was great? And
No,
like,
it wasn't great. Hit the ground running was not great. We were like, oh, we're doing great, but the numbers we just didn't know how to manage food costs properly. Again, I had worked a restaurant, never owned a restaurant, never
Mhm.
like had our ass on the line for it. And everything was self-taught. There was no spreadsheets available. There's nothing. I didn't even know what food costs should be. I just sell it. Just sell it. And what should it be priced at? I don't know what these guys are selling it at. All right, that's about right. Like no thought. So there was a time when it was like, we need to make sales or else this isn't going to work. This just isn't. And
how long ago, how deep into it was that? Like 6 months, a year?
I think everyone thought we were going to fail within the first like 2 years. People were like, oh, well, what are you going to, here's what the rub of it is I even had my grandpa who moved out here say, Michael, what are you going to do after the restaurant? I was like, that's it. This is it. And even my dad once, he moved out here too. And so my parents and my dad moved out here from California. My dad said, this is good, but you know, what did we do about, you know, everything? Like if it fails, and then I just dropped what I was doing. I said, hey, and I would like talk to this to my dad too often.
Right.
So
Yeah.
my dad's like 60 at the time. I'm, 20. I said, hey, right here, failure is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't drive halfway across America to suck at making pizza and fail.
Mm-hmm.
2 things I ain't do. So whatever it is, we're going to figure it the hell out. And that's what we're going to do. All these other dummies figured it out. So we're going to be one of those dummies that also figures it out.
Right.
And that was, I think, there's a difference between cocky and confident. I think you really need to be confident when you open a business. You don't want to be like, of course we're going to be the best. We're already the best. No, why would anyone not love everything we do? We're incredible. That's cocky.
Mm-hmm.
But confident is, I have the ability, I have the willpower, I have the wherewithal to get this figured out. And if it fails here, then I will turn that failure into a new lesson and keep moving, because it's only failure when you stop.
Right.
Everything else is just, oh, now I know what it feels like when I get hit in the face. So I could now avoid that next hit to the face.
So like, where did you get the name Andolini's at? That was one of my first questions, and I was actually about to kind of lead into your other things, and I was like, wait, back up, I got to ask about the name, because I never knew where the name came from.
So that competitive pizza team, World Pizza Champions, has a guy named Joe Carlucci on it. At the time, Joe Carlucci was on Food Network. Now, my Italian name, my mother's maiden name is Margaret Carlucci. Okay. So I'm a Carlucci. That's my Italian name. I thought that was probably copyrighted by him. So I was like, and then my brother at the time, I went back to California right after we were talking about opening to pack up my stuff. And he's like, we got to come up with an A name because the phone book mattered.
Oh,
that's how long, like 20 years ago it's gone by like that, but the phone book mattered, Steven. So
that's crazy. Okay.
So it's like al dente. I'm like, I'm going to have every jagoff come in and be like, it's not al dente. if we call it al dente. And it's like, and then I was staying at a house that we weren't paying for cable. So I'm watching DVDs. Again, I don't feel like I'm dating myself, but I started saying this out loud. And like, man, we went to the local watering hole and played some jacks at the Five.
And we walked through the saloon doors and it.
So I'm watching DVDs of The Godfather, and Godfather Part 2. Vito Corleone's Italian name is Vito Andolini. That's it. So I called it Andolini's Pizzeria and New York Italian restaurant, or New York Pizzeria. We got rid of the New York because we realized this isn't that New York. We're using an Oklahoma flour. Like, things developed, but that was the name. And I looked it up on Google. I didn't see an Andolini's. Once we were open, there was an Andolini's in North Carolina. So we tried to get the patent or the copyright to our name for like 18 years. Then out of the blue, January 1, 2023, they closed. And then we negotiated a deal to get the rights to the name. So now we are the owners officially of the copyrighted trademark name Andolini's after 18 years of business.
That just happened in 2023?
Yeah. So now if you go to so we created andopizza.com because it's easier to type. instead of Andolinis.com, because people were like, you go to Angelini's or Angelono's. And so I was like, Ando Pizza. You can't screw that up, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to Andolini's, now it forwards to Ando Pizza. I could just change it to Andolini's, but that's the whole 20-year.
It's so much easier to do. And I mean, and I honestly, the amount of times I've been to Andolini, I don't know how to spell the name. Like I just say, you know, I start Ando and then it pops up. So that's, yeah.
And now our company, because we're like, well, we're Andolini's, people know us for Andolini's, but we sell catering. So we're like Andolini's Catering, and Andolini's is, but Prossimo, which is a fine dining restaurante. So we just came up with, I didn't want to be Andolini's Hospitality or Andolini's Group, because that's what everyone else has done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what's the dumbest thing we can come up with? And I came up with Andolini's Worldwide, because we're not worldwide. And because Prestige Worldwide, like from Brothers. So Andolini's Worldwide.
That's what I'm so glad you said, because when I saw it, like Andolini's Worldwide, like I was like, I wonder if you got that from Step Brothers.
I did.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. So you got the name Andolini's from Godfather 2, and then you got Andolini's Worldwide from Step Brothers.
And a lot of Andolini's references will be references to things in The Godfather, but I will never make a reference to, like, people are like, you should come up with the John Gotti pizza. I'm like, listen, I don't endorse the mob. I'm not a fan of actual criminals. I love the American art of cinema.
Right.
I'll reference the Clemenza pie from Godfather, but I will not be like, oh, here's the gangster pizza or any of that crap.
Because at your Broken Arrow location, which we'll double back and talk about all the locations and, you know, the order of when they got started, but when we went and hung out and you showed me how to make the pizzas and stuff, there was someone that said that someone stole a Scarface poster from the men's bathroom. Wasn't that right?
It wasn't Scarface.
Oh, was it?
I had a,
because you say people steal stuff off your walls all the time.
Arrow, I'm looking at you, Broken Arrow. Stop stealing. I'm thinking it's going to be my downtown people. Ain't. They are respectable citizens. Broken Arrow, you can't put one thing up without screwing it to the beams of the wall. Not a joke. And it gets stolen. We had like a sign that says, a great man once urinated here, and that great man was you. Just as a goof for the men's bathroom. And you'll see it is screwed in. It's not a frame. It is pieces of wood, because people are like, I gotta have that, and take it off.
So you guys screwed it in?
We screwed it in. We had the Bill Murray, we had a Bill Murray and all his characters painting that got stolen. I had a Patton. I think you're referencing Patton. The war movie Patton was on the wall. That got stolen. None of this has been nothing.
In that Pete, the great man once Pete here or whatever, that got sold multiple times.
Yes.
Because I remember
that's why I had to screw it in.
Yeah.
I kept buying it. Now people, you will see, like, it looks like a scene out of Saw with the amount of scrapes from fingernails trying to rip it off the wall.
People are still trying to steal it
in Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow. Meanwhile, Cherry Street, I got like stuff that's been on the wall since day one, and some of it's been minorly vandalized or tagged, but nothing's been stolen. Maybe it's because you really have to, like,
you know what's going to happen now is these people from Broken Arrow are going to start coming to your Cherry Street and downtown Tulsa and Owasso locations and start stealing the stuff.
My belief is that the good people that listen to this podcast and watch it on YouTube are not of that ilk. That those are dirty.
You don't know my viewers. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not a challenge.
You should go and read my Instagram comment section. Like, I'm pretty sure half the people actually really don't like me. So
it helps the algorithm. But what's even worse is I have a hard rule. We will sell anything.
Yeah.
So if someone just came up and said, hey, I really want this, I would say, like, hey, okay, let me find how I'm going to replace that. And yes, I will get you one or sell it or create one from scratch for you. That's off topic, but related. Old ladies steal menus. That's a thing. That's a real thing. Like, they just take menus, and then if you catch them, they're like, but I ate here, I paid. And you're like, we can't, like, we only have so many of those and it costs money. They're like, tell you what, I'll sell it to you, but you can't take it. Like, I don't know if I want it then. Like, good.
Yeah.
It's not for sale. For stealing.
Why do you think they steal it? Because if they're placing an order at home, they want to have the menu, or
they collect them.
They collect them. Okay.
It's a weird older female dynamic to steal menus. And this is from experience. It's not like I'm elder shaming. It just happens. I even had my mom's best friend come out and she started to do it herself. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I take menus, darling. That's what I do. I'm like, that's not a thing.
That is not okay. You can't just take my menu.
Some people
Like
collect a fork from every restaurant they go to and just take it.
Really?
It's like,
yeah. I'm thinking back. My grandmother had tons of menus, but she did it for the reason that I just mentioned.
To-go menus or in-house menus?
Maybe they were to-go menus.
To-go menus, that's the intent.
Yeah.
I'm talking full-blown, like our wood panel.
Yeah, because you had the wood. Yeah, you had the wood panel.
Jesus. Yeah.
It's like a collection. That is so weird. I never thought about stealing a menu.
When you deal with people in mass, you start to see weird trends that will happen. There's a trend where people will want their Dr. Pepper heated.
No.
It's a real thing.
They want it heated?
They want hot Dr. Pepper. I bet you Google that, you'll see like a bunch of people with a Reddit thread on that, no doubt.
I think it's weird to get a pop with no ice. And I have a couple of friends that do that, but I think it's really weird. But they say their teeth are sensitive to like cold or whatever, which I'm like, okay, I get it. But hot Dr. Pepper. Huh. I was watched this like Survivor guy from Alaska. I forgot his name. It's called Wild Boys.
Okay.
Wild Boys. It's basically this guy that used to be a lawyer, became a YouTuber and a survivor, but he does hot Fanta, which actually sounds kind of good, but hot Dr. Pepper doesn't.
it's all whatever you enjoy. But I'm saying it's not something that they're just doing at home. They like are bold enough to be like, and I would like my Dr. Pepper heated. Like that's you just expect us to do that? Like
do you guys do it?
It's harder because we don't have microwave.
No, you don't have
microwave. It's the easiest thing to do if you have a microwave. For us, it would like we have to break out a pot and boil it and pour it back in. So we explain that, and usually they're
cool.
Usually they're like, oh, that's fine. Now in my
like they're fine. Like go do it.
Like yeah, that's fine. I'll wait. Or sometimes like fine, I don't need it.
Okay,
but they're fine. I've had another thing that'll happen with customers if I'm just listing off crazy things.
Yeah.
When people age, they will start to lose their senses.
Right.
They don't know that they're losing their senses. So they'll say like, the food's not hot enough. And like, you could like put a temp in it and it'll burn your finger or something. And they're just, their taste buds in their mouth are starting to degrade and they don't want to admit that it's them. So they think it's everything else.
Oh, what? So what do you, so they're like, my pizza's not hot. And you're like, dude, like
it's usually with fine dining and like something like a potato or a chicken. You're like, there's literal steam coming off of it. I'm afraid this will hurt you.
Yeah.
Eat it. And they're like, I want it hotter. We're like, cool. We'll do fine.
So what do? You just go you light it on fire, pour some gasoline on it, light it on fire.
Tap it and show them like, this is 100 and blank degrees.
Yeah. Like,
right okay. It's just not even happened with me in my fine dining restaurant when I was a kid. Like when I was 18, that would happen. I've just noticed this in the last 20 years of at some point, geriatric customers start to degrade and they don't want to admit that it's themselves.
That's so interesting. So you open up a Owasso. How many years until you opened up your second what was your second location? I don't even know.
Street.
Cherry Street was second?
Yeah, so we opened Owasso 2005 and then Cherry Street. It was 6 years. And we had the location picked out like at 4.5 years, but it was a year and a half of effort to get it built out, and the money that looks like a $2 million build out. We did it for $500,000 because we bought the brick and laid everything was built by hand by us.
Oh,
like everything. So that's how the cost was done cheaply. We even tried to do our own HVAC, which is not legal. We wanted because we were like, we have to get this open. Everything's riding on it. And it made money day one. And we put an insane amount of money into that building for that building not even to be ours. And eventually now it is, but it's a whole,
because you have is it okay if your office is there?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Because
so now we own that area, but it was, that was a big gamble. That was putting it all out there, and I'm very happy it paid off. And also, no one wanted to give us a loan. That was the other thing. Like, I'll put it out there for Security Bank all day. Security Bank Tulsa were the only ones who would take a chance on us, and we were banking with people locally. And to people that don't understand how it works, you basically do everything the bank asks to provide. You show that you're profitable. You show your numbers. You have to have them extremely clean. We did all that. And then it goes to what's known as committee to say, okay, they did it all. Do we want to give them money? And 3 banks that we were working with at the time all were like, restaurant, second location? Nah. Not happening. And Security Bank, who had never banked with us, we showed them all like, hey, and Mike competes internationally, and here's the food, and here's our numbers. They're like, we'll take a chance on you. We have made them a lot of money in banking loans, and we bank with them primarily in Tulsa because of what they've done. So
wow,
big up to Security Bank.
So that's the thing. Like
Tulsa.
banks don't like lending people
To
money on their
restaurants?
second locations, or just restaurants in general.
Restaurants in general, but even like a first location is dangerous. A second location is also dangerous. Once you have 2 to 3 under your belt, then it's a safer bet because just I get it.
Yeah.
But like, it's a bold thing to do. And people assume restaurants are I think people know that restaurants are hard.
Right.
I think people have heard like, hey, most 60% fail in their first year, 80% fail in the first 3 years. That's a fact.
Oh, I didn't even know that was that high.
It's that high. So, but, and this isn't a woe is me thing, but it's just to put it in perspective. Whenever someone's like, well, we should get some donations, the first place they go is not to the oil and gas tower downtown that has like, stupid enough money to afford buildings.
Right.
They go to the local mom and pop. They're like, hey, donate to our thing. And I'm like, we're just trying to get by too, right? Like it's kind of fascinating.
I never thought about that. I'm totally guilty of that.
And it's okay, like, because the proper way for a restaurant to play it is let me ingratiate myself further into the community and do more with it. That's the proper way. But when it's just like, hey, donate $500 to our thing for our kids to go to like Carnegie Hall, I'm like, no, it's not a smart move business wise for me, and pay for your own kids to go to Carnegie Hall.
Right. Why do I have to pay for it? I employ your kids too. Like they come in.
And that's the preference, is that we want to get our food out there,
Yeah.
to employ your kids, to have us be the backbone of the community. And it's like, hey, but we'll donate to them when they get back to have a party here so you can see what we do and we can help them that way. That's a big thing for also restaurants. It's extremely expensive to have staff. It's only getting more expensive. Food's only getting more expensive. If you say like these prices are insane, it's like, yeah, they're insane to us too. It's not like we're wanting it to the price of cheese to go up.
Oh, let's talk about tips.
The tip thing. So here's,
Yeah,
I'll
let's talk
start
about
off with
tips.
saying this. This is a very important note, and I think I could make a whole video on this, and people have a very small understanding. But what I'm about to say to you, I think is going to put it all in perspective.
Okay.
Right now, you in general are getting hit up to tip on everything.
Everything.
And it's all being done on a tablet of some sort. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Here's why.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the restaurant.
Okay.
Zilch.
Okay.
What it is the companies who run the Square POS, the Toast POS, whatever POS, since 2019 became the credit card processor as well.
Okay.
Before that, POS Aloha would hire out Heartland. So Aloha was not benefited from the credit card processing. The credit card processor is Toast, and Toast is the credit card processing as well. So Toast POS and Toast credit card. So the more credit cards get processed, i.e. if it's not $5 being processed, but $7.50 being processed, they get now not 3% of $5, they're getting 3% of $7.50. So it benefits the point of sale. So they've built it into the software to be so in your face that you have to go out of your way to turn it off. And then if you have staff, they're like, hey, I'd like to get a tip. Could you not turn off the software or I could work anywhere else where they have that software turned on? So a lot of people are like, well, fine, what does it affect me? If they want to tip, let them or don't. And most staff is like not going to be angry. They don't even see it. If you tip or don't tip, they don't see it. Like only at Starbucks do they see in the corner of their eye if you hit the extra button. But again, that benefits. So when this happens, I get no benefit. I actually costs me money to have that turned on. It costs me time, and it costs you being turned off as a customer. Now I might say, but it helps attrition or makes my staff happier. Great. But if you're thinking, oh, these restaurants are trying to stick it to us, it is not the restaurant. It is the point of sale with the credit card processor that have gamed the situation to guilt us into doing this with the staff.
And plus, but your restaurant, you actually own a restaurant. So that's like the only place that I feel like, or then there's other places that I feel like that you should tip, but like restaurant waiter, waitress is like, that's a tip game. But I was just interested to see like what you kind of thought about it. Cause like everything, like, I mean, I went and like picked up my order somewhere and they were like, did the tip thing. And I'm like, what's up with this tip thing? But that makes sense that it's the processing.
And yeah, so it's purely the processor again, and then the software comes in preloaded like that. So the purveyor of that business needs to outwardly turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
And now the staff's like, come on, what are you doing to us?
Yeah.
Because it used to be like, why would we be tipping for this? So if we want to make that, we did. We stood up and said, hey, if they want to tip you guys, they could tip you. But I can't build it in when they come to buy like this simple thing.
Right.
That's that took no effort on your part. Also, tipping culture, the logistics behind a tip, the legality of it is a lot more than I think people understand. So it has to go to the person who handles the transaction. Here's the problem. What if I have someone who does a catering order that they've been talking to someone about for the last 3 days? Then that person finally comes in and like, hey, for all your guys' help, here's $100 tip to that person who just was on shift that day. Legally, it has to go to that person, and they can't be compelled to share it. Now we could have them pre-sign something that says, I'm going to give it to this other person if that comes in. But if we were to say, hey, you ought to share it to the back house customer or back house employees are non-customer facing employees. If I make that server or even insinuate to that server that it's highly looked favorably upon to tip non-customer facing employees, I could have a DOL case on my hands.
Holy moly.
The problem with all of this as it comes down to the real world, and everything I'm saying is not, it almost might sound political. It's not. I'm just telling you the facts of the matter is people go to restaurants. So they have opinions about restaurants. So then they legislate to restaurants on this very low margin business. Meanwhile, businesses that are not customer facing have very little regulation upon them. So if you're just operating, again, an oil and gas multi-billion-dollar company, people aren't like really up in your business about how you're paying every single employee and how they're paying and how they're sharing tips or the minimum that you have to pay to each person and all that. It's just not there. But in this world, the minimum wage thing, like, hey, you got to pay a living wage. Like most servers are making $20 plus an hour so that you can have food that's not $60 for an appetizer. That's just economics, and it's what the average customer doesn't know. So then it becomes in California we need to have to go above $20 an hour or something. Immediately all the companies, especially the corporations, just cut staff.
Yep.
Like the second it happened, you just cut staff. And you could say, hey, that's not right or whatever, but it's not even like about corporate greed. It's just not fiscally feasible to have to pull this off unless you're going to charge $75 for a basic ass lunch.
Right.
The math doesn't equate.
So is it true that the minimum wage for like a waiter or waitress is like $3.25? Is that
it is true.
It is true.
Let's take a step back. It's also not true.
Okay.
Here's why. Like again, facts. I'm not seeking to have a political problem here, but I'll tell you the history of how this came to be because I think a lot of people don't realize it. First and foremost, they have to get paid minimum wage.
Okay.
They have to walk out of there at, let's say, $8 an hour.
Okay.
If minimum wage is $8, it might be $7.75, might be $9, whatever it is. By the time they get their tips, and if they work 3 hours, they have to have aggregated more than minimum wage. It's being passed off to the consumer. Now, if the consumer does not get them tips, if they had no customers, no tips that day, we have to true them up to minimum wage.
Okay.
So it's impossible for a server in a legally run restaurant to walk away from lunch at $2 or $3 an hour.
Okay. So like, for example, if you're a 3-hour shift, you make minimum wage $9 an hour, $27, right? Mm-hmm. So they work the 3 hours. They don't get the tips to get 27. You have to make it.
We have to have it through our payroll accounted for. Like, hey, they worked this many hours, but this is the many tips that they got. So therefore they actually came in under, therefore we have to true them up to that number.
Okay. That's true. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Where did this come from? People have no idea about where the minimum wage of $2.50, like $1 came from. And it was invented in the 80s because people weren't getting paid at all. And the reason why is because you're getting tips. So who invented it? It wasn't to get people paid. So look, you blow your mind. Reagan was like, we're not able to tax these people at all because we have no idea who's working. We have to have them get paid something so we know who's working these restaurants. So pay them, like make them get paid 75 cents. I don't care, but we need to have them in the system because right now they're not in the system at all because they're getting paid tips and it's all under the table and we're not able to tax them at all. So give them this little morsel so that we have them in the system.
Oh my gosh. So that is all because of a tax reason.
Yes.
They weren't be able to,
if they weren't getting if they were completely off the books.
Huh. That's so fascinating. And then now it just looks bad on the restaurant because the restaurant, like, that was the one thing that, a misconception that's out there is like, oh yeah, those waitresses only get paid like $2.50 an hour. But back in, like you said, the 80s, they didn't get.
No restaurant I know of where the servers are making less than the back of house.
Yeah.
None. Zero.
Man, that is crazy.
So if a back of house employee is getting paid $15 an hour, I can bet you sure than all hell that server's making 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
On average.
Because I mean, how many tables can they wait on at one time? I mean,
different restaurant, different time. But let's go on an average. On an average restaurant, let's just say 11 to 3, they're going to have maybe, very basic average. Everyone will be different. 3 tables in the first hour, 4 to 5 in the second hour, 3. So we're talking a total of 10, let's say 10 tables.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very conservative number.
Right.
10 tables at an average of $25 to $30, probably 40, but let's say it's just $30.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point it's $6.
Right.
So $6 times 3 hours, and that would be $60.
Right.
Plus the $2.15, whatever.
Yeah.
So they walked out with somewhere in the realm of 70 to $80, extremely conservative.
Right.
For a 10 to 3 shift.
And then that's 3 hours. And
and maybe they came in a half hour early to do some prep, or maybe they have to stay a half hour later. Now
that's way more than $27.
Yeah. And you go fine dining, they're getting there at 4, leaving at 11. They have maybe 8 tables, each one getting them like $40 to $60 tips, maybe $100, maybe $200 tips. But then that's how someone could be a career server.
Huh. That is. Yeah, actually, I met my first career. Well, I guess I probably met a lot of career servers, but I actually met someone that's from Vegas that was looking to move here to Tulsa, and he was he was a backup waiter or something. He was at a really fine. Maybe not bar.
There's captains and barbacks. There's all sorts of different types of things.
But he wasn't like the main waiter, but he's like in training to do. But he's been in the food industry for a long time. He's out in Vegas, does a really nice restaurant, and he was looking to move to Tulsa, but. The money they make over in Vegas, overweight. He wasn't even like the top waiter, but he said he made about 90,000, 95,000, and he wasn't even the main waiter.
Most waiters who are like really organized, when they're like, hey, we'd love to have you be a manager, won't do it because they're like, and also all that money for the most part is like, especially like servers it's their responsibility to document their cash tips. Not many do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's money. And then the credit card tips get taxed, but they're also not being taxed at so most of that $2.15 they never see because that's where their taxes go. So the check they get, that's where all their taxes went. And then all the tip that they got, especially if it was a nightly tip, like they get cashed out, they're walking out each day with like, here's your 100, here's your $400, so they're getting all this cash. Their check, which maybe it should be like $200, $300, is taxed down, and they're getting like 30. These are just very roundabout guessing numbers, but their check is their check is like a nothing to them. It's the nightly cash that they're making, and they're living this cash world. And then the problem with servers, and any server will admit to this, is they fall in love with like the Saturday night they walked home with $600.
Yeah,
I could be making $600 a day. It's like, you did that like twice,
right?
And so they fall in love with that, and then eventually they burn out on it. The beauty of becoming a manager is you have stable money,
right?
Insurance, and it's something you could build a life off of. But a lot of people will be like, but I was making this much. I was making $600 nights. I can't go back.
You did that twice.
Yeah.
you did that twice, buddy.
And that's why, some people burn out on being servers after like 15 years or they did it in college. It's great for college. It was great for me in college.
Yeah.
But it's hard to live it because it's just each day is a new journey.
I worked the food industry. My first job ever was actually at Mazio's in Ponca City. And I will never work food industry ever again. Yeah.
I think it's a great job. for
it was
high school kids and college kids to learn a few things. One, you learn hard work. You learn that the better you interact with people, the more money you get. So you're kind of learning sales, but you're also learning grit. I think it's significantly better than working like a retail job, because it's like, no matter how hard you fold those Gap sweaters, you're getting this much.
Yeah.
But here, if you really learn the product and learn how to be charming, you could get this much. And I think it's great. And I tell people, if you want to know where to send your kids for a job, you should send every kid's first job should be Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, absolutely.
Go to Chick-fil-A.
1,000%.
You're going to get impeccable training. Do it in Tulsa with Arthur Greeno at 7. If you're listening and you're a Tulsa person, don't come to me first. I have good rules, but it's much better after you've had like the militant rules of Chick-fil-A, and then come to me and it's like, I can kind of be like,
loosen you up a little bit.
But you have, it's again, like, get the military training,
right?
and then enter into the free world as a, not that they're bad military, but it's very like, my pleasure. And it's pristine. It's a great, safe place for kids to work. Very safe, very low tolerance for any restaurant BS of some pirate restaurants, and a lot of great structure.
So you were saying, work, first job, being a waiter or waitress, you basically get more money for providing good service. So at Mazzio's, I remember my first tip, because at Mazzio's, at least the location I was at in Ponca City, Ponca City does not like to tip. Talk about, cities. And I can say that because I graduated from there, and, I never go back. So, but I was at Mazzio's. I remember the first tip I got was an older couple. They gave me a quarter, and they literally thought that was a great tip. Like they were like, "Hey, here's a quarter. Go get yourself a gumball, whatever." And I'm like,
"Yep,
okay." So that was my first tip ever.
Just a lack of awareness in the restaurant industry. I guarantee they never had a restaurant job. Another thing, if you ever see someone be rude, you immediately know that they've never had a restaurant job. Like if someone's like at a hotel, we had a reservation. This is not acceptable. Like, that person's never worked hospitality.
You don't know how this works.
Yeah.
So you have Cherry Street, and I forgot the time frame. So
I'll go hard time frame.
Hard time frame.
2011 to 2013. No, I apologize. Then 2014, we opened our gelateria in the farm that we then moved to Broken Arrow eventually, but we did it in 2014. Then we opened in 2015, Broken Arrow.
Okay.
2017, Jenks. We had opened in 2012 downtown as STG.
Right.
And then we changed it fully into a sliced with STG ovens by 2018. Proximo 2019, Mother Road Market 2018, with 2 locations there. Our airport location in 2019 as well. So we were going like dun for a while, and all of it wasn't like, it was most of the time it was, hey, we have this really great opportunity, but it's never going to happen again. Do you want it? Like, or we're going to lease it to someone else and you'll lose out for the next 10 years or whatever. So it's like, all right. So like Mother Road Market started that way. Proximo was the people were finally leaving the spot. We were finally in a position to buy the building, and Lucky's had just closed, which I was like, well, this street really could use another nice restaurant. And just the hits just kept hitting. And we were really trying to keep up. And because of that, I was trying to create systems for all of it. So that, got married in 2014 and had a kid in 2017. So I was like, if I'm going to see this kid grow up, I better systemize the hell out of this thing. And not so much that I'm not there. Like, I'm always about being there. But if they're depending on me to do every single thing, it's just not how you build sustainable growth. But there's no real systems training for restaurants. There just isn't. So that's why I developed that myself, because I had to.
Yeah. Now you also teach people how to do those systems, which is really, really cool. What is it, just in case someone's interested in, what's the name of that? We won't talk about it too much.
It's just fine. If someone is a restaurant owner, really independent restaurant owners that are really not in Oklahoma, I help a lot of pizza, but also non-pizza. And I have a website called getunsliced.com. I wrote a book called Unsliced: How to Stay Whole in the Restaurant Industry in 2020.
And that's an Amazon bestseller, right?
It's an Amazon bestseller.
Yep.
But it's not like, side note, I don't put my book in the store because I thought it was like the most douchey move ever. And it's not for like Tulsans. It's for restaurant owners. So
Right.
like when I went, I'll crap on Hobby Lobby. Like when I went into Hobby Lobby and they had his like book right there, I'm like, come on, guy,
Come on.
Try and last out there in the real.
Honestly, I didn't even know you wrote a book until we hung out that one day and you told me. So that's the only reason why I knew it was an Amazon bestseller.
That too.
Yeah. And you said it was unsliced.com. What was it?
GetUnsliced.com.
GetUnsliced.com. So if you're a restaurant owner, want to know more about that, definitely go check that out.
And for all things Tulsa, I'm on andopizza.com or andolinisworldwide.com to see like everything that we do.
Because you got, let me go down. You got Andolini's, you got Prossimo. What restaurant's that?
Prossimo is our, have you not been there?
I haven't been there.
Oh, geez, let's get you in Prossimo.
Okay.
Prossimo's my fine dining restaurant.
You gonna hook me up?
I'll hook you up.
Okay, all right.
It's right next to Andolini's. It's a fine dining restaurant, all fresh pasta. We like make the Alfredo at the table. We stretch fresh mozzarella in front of you. The thing that I used to do in Owasso, well, now we do it to order in front of you. It's a fine dining restaurant at Tulsa World, highly regarded. We don't suck, put it that way. It's a lot of people go there for like date night or events, but it's got an impeccable brunch, bone marrow, all that type of stuff. It's really high end.
All right, I'm coming. Remember this, we got it on recording. So if you try to back out,
Not back out.
I mean, you owe me free pizza for a year. So
I got you on that too. Yeah, so all those things, and then
so Promisio or Prossimus. So this is the thing, and I want to make this clear. People say I like missay words on my videos all the time on purpose. This is exactly like I don't do it on purpose.
It's fun. It helps the algorithm know when you do it.
I know it. People,
you've done a few on purpose.
I have done it. I have done a few on purpose. I've done.
I think you did like
Sapalupa.
Yeah, Sapalupa.
I did Sapalupa.
Like, there's no way he's as a realtor got that.
No, I didn't either. What was it?
So 5 Andolinis, 2 things at Mother Road Market, which is Zaza's, which is my protege's pizza.
Oh yeah, Zaza's.
And then Metropolis cheesesteaks.
Metropolis is yours?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I really like cheesesteaks, so that's my favorite. And then got the airport, Tulsa Flag Mart on the American Airlines side of the Tulsa airport. That fell into our laps too. We are not this is interesting.
Yeah.
Most airport restaurants are paying a VIG. So you give the rights to your name to them to run it, and then they give you a percentage back. We run that. That's our store.
Really? So, wow. And how it normally works is they have their own employees run it and they just give you a licensing fee.
So yeah,
for
like you go to Chili's. That's not Chili's. That's like run by them. They have the recipes from Chili's and then they give 10% back to Chili's corporate each year. Or you'll see, even when you see like all the local stuff, it's still their staff, but your recipes, and you could, depending on the contract, very little say. They do a bid. So when you go to like the DFW, you see California Pizza Kitchen, you'll see on the receipt, it says HMS Host. HMS Host runs that. In Tulsa, Delaware North won the bid. So Delaware North runs everything you see there. Einstein Bagels, all that. We have the Tulsa Flag Mart with Stephanie, who's one of our longest tenured employees running that location. And we make pizza. We do whatever we want. We sell big ass waters and Red Bulls and everything I want before I get on a flight. It's right there. And it's run by us.
Why do they do that? Why do they do like the licensing deal? And
it's much easier to do because they don't want to deal with managing 20 vendors. They deal with one. But what happened at Tulsa was that they did a bid for like 18 spots and they were left with one empty spot that used to be Great American Bagel from like 15 years ago. And that Great American Bagel spot was empty. And then the property management team of the airport, like, we got one spot left. We're going to put it out to the public. Do you want to bid for it? So we had to bid out in the public. No one else even, because they put it in the newspaper. No one else is like reading the newspaper, but we knew it was going. We put a bid.
How many people bid on it? Do you know?
No one did.
Oh, no one did?
They told us about it. We put a bid like, we have to put this out in the newspaper. Like, by all means, go for it. No one reads the newspaper. And then at least not like on this back page. Like, still when we go and get our liquor license, we have to document publicly that we're getting a liquor license and put a notification in the public paper of record. So there's like Andolini's LLC has put in a bid for a liquor license so that the townspeople can look at it and say, like, I don't approve of this. Like that's not on Facebook, not on some public thing. That's the public way of saying we are buying a liquor license that legally everyone still has to do, like it's 1976 still.
That is interesting. Huh. So you got the man. So the Flag Mart kind of fell in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got STGs. You got STGs still?
Oh, the gelaterias. We have both the gelateria. Well, we had gelato production, and then Rose Rock wanted to do a deal with us, and we wanted to tighten up a little bit. So Rose Rock is across the street from us now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So
Yeah.
what happened? So
doing gelato production we were good at it. It made money. It also took all of our best guys all day, every day to do it.
no, okay.
And we wanted to consolidate, and that's where we went with it. It was just
So do you own Rose Rock? No.
We own the building. Rose Rock does their own thing
Oh,
inside
okay.
the building, and we coordinate on the gelatos together. And it's
Okay.
their team processing it, but it's our product.
Okay, cool. No, that's great. That's great. And actually, I have another question for you. So I want to know over there in Jinx on the Riverwalk,
Mhm.
how do you guys, because I heard it's a nightmare over there, like with the restaurants and like keeping things open. Like how do
That
you guys do
restaurant
it?
Destroys in sales.
Does it?
Yeah, that's the thing about
What
Jinx.
what is your best location? Real quick, and then we'll go back to
Per
Jinx.
seat, it's interesting. Per seat, it's Cherry Street. Total revenue, it's Jenks. Percentage wise, it's the airport. Percentage wise, because it takes one person to run it, and it's just bodies all day.
Huh.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, but going back to Jinx, we'll go back to Jinx.
Jinx's was hard when we opened it, and it's very inverted. Like it's busy in the summer and it dies. And then we just built enough goodwill that we're known and people come just to us, which works. Just like they go out of their way to Red Rock Canyon Grill in that
Yep.
horrible parking lot. If you endear yourself to that community enough, and I have a fantastic GM there with a fantastic staff, and it's got a ton of space, and they're very effective at what they do, that you can live. But you have to be impressive. You cannot half-ass it. You cannot exist well at Jinx. And opening all these stores in what's all Tulsa area is interesting how vastly different Owasso from Broken Arrow from Jinx are. These are all suburbs, affluent suburbs of Tulsa that are vastly different.
So, yeah, because I was talking to someone and they were talking about the Jinx Riverwalk, and then they said between like Los Cabos and Andolini's were pretty much the only two things that really have survived over there.
Melting Pot has done well, and
Melting Pot.
and Birdco's there. Birdco does well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, why did someone tell me
It's
that?
all the-
Now they made me look like an idiot on my podcast.
Certainly not, but
They made me look
the-
like an idiot.
it's not a typical deal. It is owned by the tribe, and we've worked with the tribes for a while, but it's not your typical, because it's interesting when your landlord changes hands, because it's a tribal chief with a different what's it, like a cabinet. It's almost like your landlord is the president or the mayor, and then, hey, new mayor, new cabinet, and you're starting over. It's like our same landlord we've had for however many years in Owasso. We always know the same email.
Right.
It's always in flux there.
So what happened with that flying T thing?
I don't know. I think that first of all, there's flying T, and then there's golf suites.
Oh yeah, golf suites. It was flying T at first, wasn't it?
Flying
And then
T-
golf suites.
They weren't making money, and
Oh, so they weren't making money? I heard
Flying-
that. I heard they just got kicked out.
no, I don't think that's what happened.
Oh, okay.
I think that they that there's I don't have the details. I don't want to speak out of school, but flying T,
No, we can. No, I'm just kidding.
flying T operated, and then it wasn't to the profit levels they wanted. There's a lot of investors, and they said someone else took it over as golf suites, and
Right.
something went sideways and they said, hey, we're gonna, somehow they ended the agreement, and again, that type of landlord with that type of autonomy could just do that, and that's what happened. The parameters of the deal and how it went down, I don't have the full knowledge of. I don't even really want the full knowledge of.
No.
But our relationship is fine, and we make money there, and we're stoked for it.
Huh.
So
You know what they're going to do with that golf suites?
a sunglass hut.
No.
No.
Oh my gosh. I was about to say, what?
Is that the clip?
Yeah, that's a clip. That's a clip. That's a clip. That's a clip.
Just
That's a clip.
It's a really, really big sunglass.
Oh my gosh, that'll be crazy.
I think
And talking about big things, you guys did a Guinness Book of World Records. That was huge.
That's my second Guinness record that I've done. I
What's
did one in.
the first one?
Part of one in 2017 for the world's longest pizza in LA, and I saw how Guinness operates and how doing one works. So then I said, it'd be really cool to do one in Tulsa. While I was making that book with my World Pizza Champions team, which was like all under wraps, they were all in town. So I was like, we should just throw a Guinness record on top of this, thinking it was going to be like a cakewalk. It was not. It was a logistical nightmare. But we, with our ops, because you can't buy your way into that. You have to be logistically tight. That had failed in New York, failed in Chicago, failed in LA, all within months of our attempt.
Yeah, and that was you were going for the largest pizza party ever.
And it was like 1,049 at the time, of which all three of those cities had failed.
And one of them was a big YouTuber too.
Yeah, A-Rack.
Yeah, I watch all this stuff.
Young Gravy failed in LA, a tier 1 city, a week before us.
Right.
Here's a fun story. I was prepared because they found when we were going to do it. So they wanted to do it just before us, so that if we got like the number we got, there's no way they thought they could beat it. So they went right before us, which ours was for charity. This annoyed the hell out of me. So now I'm like prepared. If they get to 2,000, we got to get to 3,000.
Right.
So I geared everything towards 3,400. They didn't break 1,000, but I was at 3,400. Meanwhile, I was like, if they break 3,400, I don't know what we're going to do.
Right.
So I had a mini freak out. Like, I didn't have like an actual panic attack, but I was like, I'm freaking like, if they get more, we're screwed. Like, everything goes to crap. What am I going to, I have no way to do more than 3,400. And I didn't do this, but this is a real story. I'm on a walk with my dog and I stopped what I was doing and looked up, what if we have the largest pizza party where people eat pizzas and play the kazoo? That's what we could do. We could modify it. And I was like, where can I get 5,000 kazoos? And I was like, Oriental Trading in Houston has 5,000 kazoos. I'm like, how fast can I get?
Oh, kazoos? You were really doing.
I was like,
you were about to. You did the math. You went to Oriental Trading.
So that Wednesday, they did it that Wednesday, and we were going to go on Saturday. So that Wednesday, I was like in my head all day, and I had a friend that I've known that used to work for us, a great girl, go to it so that she could live stream to me how they were doing and what they were doing and how they pulled it off. And she's like, this is a crap show, Mike. They're not going to do it. I was like, thank God. But I was ready to see like, oh, they have the judges over here. They're doing this. And I was like, because I was not going to leave anything to chance.
Because it's like, first off, it costs you money to get Guinness out there.
Yeah.
And then secondly, because I didn't know all the logistics, like what was the parameters on it?
So the logistics were, and you don't even know the logistics, the rules until you like buy off on having the event. So that's why they're like, all right, you have to have each person have 2 full slices of pizza. The minimum size could be 1/4 of a 10-inch pizza with a beverage that is a closed beverage that they fully consume the pizza slices and fully consume the drink. They have to stay in place for 15 minutes. They cannot leave their seat. They can stand up, sit down, but they cannot leave their seat. If they leave their seat, do not drink all their drink. Do not eat all their pizza. For whatever reason, they will be DQ'd. If you have more than 10% of your audience DQ, no matter how many people pass, you are an automatic fail. So if we had 5,000 people there and 4,400 pull it off, but 500, i.e. 10% of 5,000 DQ, the whole thing's a fail.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why we had to make the rules like, here's a sheet when you walk in, here's a bullhorn explaining the rules. Do not open that pizza. Do not open that pizza. Here's a sticker. Here's me on a big screen telling everyone, here's swag to just be cool. And the whole Tulsa community came in mass. And then I also had to say, which it almost hurt me to say it, no kids. If you're under 10, like if you are under 10 and can't pound these Costco size slices, or if you're like, I'm full, because you can't hand it to your mom, you got to finish it. I can't have that. My son is 5 at the time. And I was like, I'll let you in it, but you better eat it. I eat it down. Like, you better eat that plate.
Did he eat it?
He did.
And okay, so he didn't. Because it's the DQ thing, right? So it's not because you're wasting pizza. I mean, you would give a little kid a pizza.
Of course.
But
we felt bad. So we had an additional pizza party after.
Oh,
So like we
okay.
had this, and now go into the gymnasium where we had like made another 1,000 pizzas.
Oh,
So
okay.
we also had to abide by health department standards to make the pizza in a health department safe way, where we can't like make the pizza 3 days ahead of time. We had to make the pizza that afternoon for all these people, plus the extra party, and abide by health department standards. Yeah. So that's where logistically a lot of these other people fall apart. And then have a judge that monitor that no one's like walking out or everything. Because if the Guinness judge is like, I don't trust your data, you're done. That's what happened in LA. Like they just didn't corral people tight enough. You have to really, really be finite and turn in your sheet and have it be clean. And the Guinness judge walked in and said to me, thanks for having me here. You've been great to work with up to this point. Just so you know, when this fails, and these typically fail, mass audience ones, you will not see me. I will walk away. That will be the event. There's no like ending announcement when you fail.
Whoa. So they straight up, once they see it going south, they're just like,
You're not going to make it out. We're done.
holy moly.
They don't want to deal with the crowd or like being in danger. Like, this is bull crap. Start it again. Like, no, none of that.
And then how much did it, if you don't mind me asking, how much did it cost?
Put it this way. It's extremely expensive, way more than I thought it would be. And I was like, guys, this is for Make-A-Wish. I'm trying to send kids to Disneyland. And then they came down significantly.
Oh, okay.
I know that it's like not open for me to tell that number because
okay.
But put it this way, Guinness helped out on their pricing, and we sent 7 kids to their Make-A-Wish wishes because we said anyone who wants to donate while you're sitting here, they donated. Then the food purveyors who provided like the dough and the flour and the oven company, they donated. And then TU, University of Tulsa's president, came down. I did not know this was going to happen. This guy walked up to me like, hey, whatever you made today, what's it looking like? I'm like, we're at like 20,000 so far. He's like, yeah, we'll match that. And then I'm like on the mic, and I look over at like someone who I'm like, you work here at TU? You're like, yeah. Is that the president?
Is that guy legit? Like,
yeah, he just said he's gonna give us like an extra $20,000. Yeah, he'll do it. All right. Well, we just made $40,000. And we're like, so yeah, that was awesome.
Because how much does it cost for one kid to do Make-A-Wish? I mean,
$7K.
It's $7K. Okay, $7K for kids.
Anywhere from 6 to 7.
Okay.
For all the logistics and getting Disney and getting the flights and all that. I mean, I know Disney comes down a lot, but there's certain things that still do cost money.
So how did you get 3,400 people there? Like, so you had at TU, obviously at the arena.
So this was a lot of logistical thought. At first we were going to do it at the BMX area, but that was going to be outside in January.
Yeah.
Which was my first thought. Then I was like, well, I got with 6PR. So shout out to 6PR who's had the wherewithal to get with TU, who wanted to do more events. They're like, they're going to be doing a basketball game on this day. You could put it out to everyone coming to the game, and then they could market it to their people and their staff and their kids that go to the game to come early for this. So they sold the most tickets they had sold by us pushing it. And then we also said the first 1,000 people would get a commemorative sweatshirt. So they got that, and we added the swag to it. And then it was just my Tulsa pull at this point. Like,
yeah,
I got with KMOD, who has been a great partner for me in a long time, the Big Mad Morning Show, and they ran it as, because it was a donation technically, as their what's an ad that's like for the benefit of the community.
Oh, yeah, PSA.
They did it as PSAs, so they ran a ton of commercials for us as PSAs.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, hey, you're going to get fed. You're going to walk into TU's arena for free,
right?
For the $5 price of a ticket. Get to see a TU game if you've never seen one. Get a free a sweatshirt, like a legit sweatshirt. Get fed by us in this competition and after, and walk out a Guinness World Record holder.
Yeah.
And that was enough. And I genuinely think it's this beautiful thing where if we were a tier 3 city, like if we're just Ponca City,
right? Yeah.
Not going to work. If you're a tier 1 city, people are like, I'm leaving.
I'd rather go to a Lakers game or whatever.
Just this, like, the can do just enough bodies with a can do attitude to not open the box, to play ball, to be cool. That's what pulled it off. And when people are like, you think someone's going to break this record? I'm all, game on. By all means, have that.
Would you do it again?
If someone breaks the record, I'll totally do it again. I feel very, very, very comfortable.
So what was the final number? How many did you guys have?
3,357.
So how many people who DQ'd?
20.
20? Why they DQ'd? Just
Someone like had to go to the bathroom.
oh
Someone just, for whatever reason, out of all those people, which is like negligible.
yeah, 20.
Yeah.
That's not very many. 27. That's not very many. You say 27?
No,
Or you
like
say
20, like 20.
20? That's
Yeah.
not very many out
No.
3,000. That's
Yeah.
really good.
So we more than tripled the previous record. And also that day was like, I was freaked out how smooth everything was going. Like all the pizzas were coming out, just everything's getting on site. Everyone's loading in. We like could load people in and get them in their seat. And we had, I think, 15 minutes to do that. And we got like the last person in the seat and we're like directing traffic. And there's like bottlenecks. So we're able to call on Audible, like, no, come down to the floor, go back up. Or just happening. And then 15 minutes starting now. And I'm like looking around like, this something's going to be wrong, right? Something's going to be wrong. Nothing went wrong.
Nothing?
Day. Just nothing went wrong all day. I remember I saw a light. I saw a light at 51st and Harvard and I totally ran a red. And I was like, I'm on a mission from God. Nothing's going to happen to me today.
Yeah.
Very cocky, stupid thing to say out loud. But I was like, why has nothing gone wrong? Because everything goes wrong. A regular ass catering order.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the button's not working. Or, oh, the door to the stairs isn't, like, something goes wrong. Nothing went wrong that day with the logistics, 1,000 different points of logistics simultaneously.
That's crazy. 3,000, over 3,000 people, Guinness Book of World Record. Dude, that's great. Well, I think, Sarah, we're over an hour, are we? Oh, yeah. All right. We're at hour 15. Okay. Well, I'm going to have you back on. We'll talk about more stuff. I
could wrap up whatever else did we talk
Yeah.
about. I don't know what else there is.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to talk to you about Randy Santel coming over to Cherry Street.
Yeah, that's all right. It's an all right story. It's not that
No,
bad.
not
It's
that.
just like he came out and like, all right.
Yeah.
It's not much.
So Randy Santel's a competitive food eater, and do you guys normally have a challenge like that? No, he just
emailed us, and I said, hey, this guy emailed us, and my brother watches his YouTube. He's like, we should absolutely do that. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch his YouTube that much, and I saw it. I was like, oh, the guy seems cool.
Yeah.
I'll say the one thing that's super interesting about Randy Santel is that when he eats, he is not seated.
He doesn't.
He is on his knees.
Yeah.
to expand his stomach.
Wow. That's crazy.
So people think he's seated. He is not.
No. Yeah, because I see him sometimes. He'll get because I watch all of his videos, and I see that he'll start seated, but then he'll get down on his knees.
Super cool guy.
Yeah, but cool, awesome. Well, if you want to go learn more about what Mike's doing, you can go to one more time those two websites.
So for all things Andolini's and understanding what our brand is and what we do for the community and all that, it's Andolini's Worldwide. If you just want to order some pizza, go to andopizza.com, go to the Instagram Ando Pizza. If you think I was interesting at all, you can follow me on Instagram at Mikey Bausch. And if you're a restaurant business owner who wants to enhance that, you can go to just follow me at Mikey Bausch and it'll be obvious to you.
Yeah.
I try not to suck on a daily basis.
Perfect. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on, and thank you for watching. We'll talk soon.